We're going to talk now about polynomials, and we're going to start with looking at some definitions for what polynomials are and determining this thing called the degree of a polynomial. And those are our goals for this segment, simply to do the work with definitions and degrees. Now, the first thing you might ask is, what is a polynomial? And I want to start by reviewing some definitions from earlier in the course. A term, or terms, are simply products. So a term is a product of a number and a variable, or variables. It may come at you as a number standing alone by itself, just a constant. And the variables may or may not be raised to a power other than 1. Let's look at some examples of terms, just to see what they look like. We could have a constant term, such as the number 3. We could have something like a 5 times x. You've worked with those extensively at this point. We could have something more entertaining, like a negative 3 x squared, y cubed, z to the 18th power. And any one of those things would be called a term. Now, in these terms, we have the numerical coefficient. And that is simply the number multiplying those variables, or if you prefer, the number out front for a quickie, informal way of remembering it. And it is often just called the coefficient, and the word numerical is left out. For example, from that list above, 5x has the numerical coefficient 5. The more entertaining term, that negative 3x squared y cubed z to the 18th, has the coefficient negative 3. Now, at this point, we're going to get into some new terminology. And you can use root words to help you with remembering some of these terms. The first new word for you is monomial. From here, you might see the word mono, which means one, and that can help you remember that this is one term standing alone, such as 75 x to the 5th power. If we have a binomial, we can look at the by and think 2. This is 2 terms, and they are added or subtracted. So I'll just write a plus/minus to indicate that. So, for example, we could have something like 5y minus 1, or negative 2x cubed plus x, and each term is separated by the addition or subtraction symbol. Continuing in this way, we might have a trinomial. And trinomial, tri means 3, is simply going to be 3 terms, added or subtracted. For example, something like 3y cubed minus 4y plus k. Slide that up a little. And finally, we get to a polynomial. Poly indicates many, means many, and so this is just many terms added or subtracted. And it includes within it the monomial, the binomial, and the trinomial. Those are specific types of polynomials. You'll work with them quite a bit, and they're just given their own specific names. An example of a polynomial that's a little bit larger than the ones you've seen so far would be something like 3x to the 5th plus y squared z minus x squared plus 2y. Lots of good terms there. Now, there's one catch in this exercise that you have to keep in mind. For a polynomial, all of the exponents in your terms are positive integers, plus VE for positive. So there are, what that does for you is that there are no variables, no letters. I'll just write letters for a little variety. In the denominator of any term, denominator. And that means also that there are no negative exponents. I just want to emphasize that a little bit. And there will be no fractional exponents either. Minor detail related to this: if you have a polynomial with only one variable, you can write it in descending powers. And sometimes you'll be asked to do that. The words themselves give you a guide for what you're supposed to do. Descending, going down. An example would be of a polynomial in one variable, only one letter showing up. Suppose you have x squared plus x cubed minus 5. If we want to write that in descending powers, we're just going to go from highest to lowest. So we would write it x cubed plus x squared minus 5.